Eat, sleep, bet, repeat. That's how we get down on the opening line at elitesportsbetting.com. And today we got a special show for you guys because we're going to be going over all the college football bowl games between now and the day after Christmas. We'll probably do another video either the day after Christmas, that Thursday, or that Friday with the games that go from the 27th on, through the new year. But I figured let's do one this week where we get all the games up until Christmas, so this way everybody has everything broken down. And as always, when I'm talking about some college football action, I brought in our college football experts here. We got my man, Real Frank Brank, up top, and my man, Golf Man Paulie, on the bottom. So these are the two guys that put together a lot of our lines and do a lot of the stuff in the betting package for college football. So I said, you know what, let's get together. We'll go bowl by bowl. We'll see what these guys got to say, and, we'll see if we can find some value here for it. So let's start off with you. Frank, how's it going this morning, bro?
How's it going, Benny?
Not too bad. I got some coffee. I know you're in Pennsylvania, so I am in New Jersey. We are getting all the rain right now that you guys had yesterday. Kind of causing a lot of problems out there. Pretty much sucks. Hopefully the weather's a lot better for these teams when they go to these bowls.
Yeah, I think, this time of the year you got to watch out for that. Unfortunately, betting this far ahead, nobody knows what the weather's going to be at that point in time. So we're kind of just not firing from the hip, but, trying to avoid any crazy situations if we can. But a lot of these games, like you said, we're betting out, and we're going to be talking about games after Christmas. We were supposed to get 2 inches of snow last night and it rained, so I don't know.
Well, the one good thing about a lot of these bowls, I mean, the Bahamas Bowl, there's one in New Mexico, there's a couple in California, a couple in the South and Florida. As long as they stay in the warm weather places, the weather might not be as much of an issue in a lot of these as Big Ten games in the middle of December tend to be sometimes, or, something like that. Hopefully we can avoid a lot of that problem. Paulie, how about you, man? How's everything going this morning?
Doing pretty good, Benny. Ready to get bowl season started here.
That's it. We got a lot of stuff going on, so make sure you guys get over to the Elite Sports Betting app and check everything out. NBA's in full swing right now. NFL's kind of winding down, but we still got a couple weeks left of that. We're going to be doing videos like this, as you guys see. They're starting to get posted up on the website. We're trying to keep it behind the paywall for our subscribers here, so this way you guys get the benefit of, not only seeing which games these guys are on, but also kind of getting their thoughts on why they're on some of these games. Because I know for me, it makes it a lot easier for me to make decisions when I know, when you hear them talk about it and Frank gets excited about a line being off there, or, Paulie mentions 3 or 4 times how it's his favorite bet. That's what I know. I got to make sure I get money down on those games. So I wanted you guys to have the same opportunity to, to hear which games these guys are really high on, as well as being able to see what they're betting. So let's get into it right now. We're going to start with the first game is the Bahamas Bowl on December 20th. We got the University of Buffalo going up against Charlotte. Charlotte is a 6.5-point underdog in this game. The over-under is 54. Frank, we'll start with you up top. Anything in this game that you're saying?
Yeah, Buffalo finished their season pretty strong. Overall, had a decent season, I'd say, for University of Buffalo. They won, 4 of their last 5 of the last 6, something like that. Mm-hmm. Blew out Akron, blew out Central Michigan, blew out Eastern Michigan, blew out Toledo, blew out Bowling Green. So, they've been winning and they've been scoring a lot of points. The last 2 games of the season, they scored 49 points each, 43 points in the 4th last game of the season. So they've been putting up points. They've been playing faster. One thing you got to watch with some of these bowl games is you can get these teams that don't play anybody all year. They have a relatively weak schedule like Buffalo does, and then they play a team that is decent. In this case, you're playing Charlotte. They're pretty much on the same, wavelength as Buffalo here. If I check my rankings here, I've got Buffalo at 70th overall, Charlotte at 101st. So they're playing inferior competition here. They're favored by 6.5. I've got the game at 7, so nothing there for me. But we look at this more recent trend for Buffalo, 49 points, 49 points, 27, 43 points, 43 points. What is that? 4 of the last 5 games, they scored 40 plus. Not that that's a huge factor in my model is, it's not too much like, how many points did they score recently? But it kind of supports the fact that my model likes the over in this game. So that's my first play of the bowl season is going to be the over in the Buffalo-Charlotte game. The number's 54. I've got it at 57, 57.3. So, yeah, I'm taking the over here.
All right. Paulie, how about you? Anything you're seeing in this game?
Yeah, the number I got in this game is I have Charlotte as +5, so I did have a small play on Charlotte at +6.5. When we typically see in bowl games, unless I see a massive edge in the line, the bets are going to be very small. As I think there's a lot of value in some of the in-game lines, because when you have teams that haven't played for a month and have a month to prep for another team, you can get some really weird results. So, it's one of those, you just watch the game for, 2 or 3 series, and you might be able to pick up on, some of the matchups and stuff like that and, exploit it pretty well.
So that's a good point right there, because in-game is becoming I don't want to say a better way to bet, but a softer market usually is what you get on the in-game. So what would you be looking for on the in-game here? Is there like, if Buffalo goes down early or if Buffalo comes out big, or is it just kind of taking a look and seeing which one of these teams looks like they came to play and is flying around, and which one of these teams looks a little stale? Like what are you looking for if you're going to put an in-game bet in?
It's looking at the play calling, looking at the matchups, and pretty much everything that's going on in the first quarter of the game, just to see, if the, projected, outcomes that we thought was going to happen for the game, is that realistic, or is maybe one of the teams a lot better than we thought? So an example in this game is the fact that it's one of the MAC teams, Buffalo, right? I'm very low on the MAC this year.
Right.
Normally the MAC is very solid, has 4 or 5 really good teams. They've had a lot of mediocre teams who just kind of just beat up on each other the whole second half of the year because all they did was play conference games. Buffalo fits that trend, and a lot of the early bowl games are similar with Kent State, Central Michigan. It's really tough to tell how good those teams are because they haven't really played anybody, and no one really stood out in conference play because they all kind of had boneheaded losses throughout the year.
Mm-hmm. All right, so that's a good point. I mean, there are things you're going to see in the middle of the game. A lot of times you're going to get the lines, and like we had mentioned before, if you have access to more than one book, look around, because a lot of times these in-game lines are so different depending on which book you're looking at, because they all use different things to kind of figure it all out. So you're getting, +5 on one site, you might be getting +8 on another site. One site you might be paying -110 for whatever number you're getting, and another site might have it juiced up to -130. So definitely do some shopping around in game. Know what you want to bet on, and then look at the different sites and see where you're getting the best value for it. That's the best advice I can give you there, because, again, it doesn't sound like a lot, but over the course of your betting life, if you're making thousands of bets and you're getting an extra, 20 cents on the dollar here and 20 cents on the dollar there, that money's going to add up and help your ROI in the end. So let's move on and talk about the Frisco Bowl here. We got Utah State taking on Kent State. Kent State currently is a 7-point underdog. Pretty big total here, 65.5 is what I'm seeing right now. Paulie, we'll start with you this time. Anything you're seeing in this game?
Only a small edge here. You said Utah State sitting at a 7-point favorite. I got the line as Utah State -8.5.
Okay.
So it's maybe worth a small bet there at 7. You see, basically, you have Jordan Love, who's just declared that he's going to go into the NFL draft next year. This is going to be his last game at quarterback for Utah State. So this is kind of a little bit of a showcase. Mm-hmm. So I think he kind of comes out and he's once again playing Kent State, which is another MAC team, which is it's almost worth just fading the MAC entirely in my eyes, almost in the bowl games, just because I just think they're, as mentioned, an overrated conference this year. So I have a small play in Utah State, but nothing crazy.
Yeah, I'm looking at some of this line movement here, Frank. It started at 8.5. It is down to 7 right now, and the total dropped as well. I'm looking at totals here that opened around 67, down to 65.5. So you're looking at a point or two on both the total and the spread now, down to a key number at -7. So what are you looking at here for Utah State, Kent State?
Yeah, I'm with Paulie. I was on the open there, 8.5. I have it at 8.6, game at 67. So nothing significant for me. I'm looking at the board here. Like you said, numbers gone down. I'm seeing some juicy 7s or some 7.5s at plus money. If you're going to lay the 7.5, I'm not going to mess around with a game with key points like that. 7.5 to 8, 9, those are kind of dead points. So it hasn't moved that much. It's more the under, I guess. BetOnline's got it 65.5, but I see 66.5 at Chris. So numbers been a little bit everywhere, which is kind of strange to see in any football game. But nothing for me. I got 67 for the total and 8.5 on the spread. So if the number got to say 6, maybe 6.5, I would consider playing Utah State. Utah State. But at this point, nothing for me. I'm not gonna mess around with 7 or the 7.5. I'd have to get a better number on the key side there.
Yeah, so keep an eye on that. We still have a couple days. That game is going to be the second game on Friday. So if we can get it under a 7, it might be worth the play. But sounds like both of the guys think Vegas did a good job with pricing this one out because they both had it pretty much in the same spot. So let's move on to Saturday game. Saturday the 21st, we have the Cure Bowl between Liberty and Georgia Southern. Georgia Southern is a 5-point favorite in this game. Over-under currently sitting at 58.5, I think. Although is that the open line or the – yeah, 58.5 and -5 is what I'm seeing here. So, Frank, what are you looking at here?
Yeah, another game where we've got some totals a little bit everywhere. I'm seeing some 57.5s, 58s, 59s with bigger vig on the under. I have this game at 3, Georgia Southern -3. Liberty's getting 5, so that's close to a play for me. There's just, like I said, there's not much difference between 4 and 5. Once you get over that 3, it's kind of unnecessary. You know, there's not a lot of like difference in the odds you're going to win that bet. Mm-hmm. I'm not playing that side quite yet, but with where the number is, you're seeing some 59s, some 58s. I'm playing the under in this game. I hate this bet. I don't really know. It's one of those modeling conundrums where you don't really know why you're getting a certain bet, but we are. You know, Liberty scored 49 points last week. The week before they gave up 55 to Virginia. It's Georgia Southern is scoring some points and giving up points. And, 59 to me seemed right just in my brain, but I'm looking, my model, I've got it at 54, which is a pretty sizable edge. And we're going to play the under. I've been trusting this thing all year, and we've had a good run here. So we're going to play the under 59 there's some higher VIGs out there at 59. I would play it at 58, play the under at 58. Once you get into 57.5, unless I'm getting somewhere close to even money, I'm probably not going to play the under there. Mm-hmm. It did go up to 60 at one point at some places, but it hit some resistance. And I think before a game day, we're going to see some more resistance back down towards 57.5 or so.
Yeah, and that actually makes a lot of sense because I'm looking at the original line that opened here. It first opened at 55.5. So to even be up in 58, 59 range, that means that we've already seen it kind of run up a couple points here. So it does make sense. I mean, you said you had it at 54. They opened it at 55.5. So they even, I think, kind of thought it was going to be a little bit higher, and people were going to be betting on the over. And,
and we've seen this. I mean, we've seen this before, like earlier in the week. Like you said, it doesn't take much money if guys are on the edge of a play and they want to bet the line up a little bit and move some numbers around to get more money back down on the under. I'm not saying I don't have any knowledge that that's the case, but it could be the case, especially once it hit 60, we saw some resistance. So it wouldn't surprise me that as, we get closer and lineups get solidified, that we see some more money come in there.
So, Paulie, how are you viewing this one?
Yeah, I'm actually on the opposite side of that game than Frank here. I saw a small edge in the over there. I had the true line at 59.5 and was able to bet it yesterday at 57.5. So really not a huge edge, but basically with Liberty has been absolutely atrocious on defense, especially over the last 6 games, and that's been against some really bad teams. I mean, they gave up they lost to Rutgers and gave up 44 points to them. They gave up 21 points to UMass, and they still won. Gave up 55 to Virginia, and then gave up 28 to New Mexico State.
Okay.
And I have Georgia Southern as a much better offense than most of those teams. So I'm thinking Georgia Southern is still going to be able to put up probably close to 30 in this game, maybe even higher. So that's why I'm kind of leaning towards the over there.
All right,
yeah, and that's what that's what I'm saying. I'm looking at, I always like we said before, it's run the model and then verify, right? Like see what's going on more recently and what's going on. I don't know why I'm getting the under. I don't love it, but like you said, this thing's won for me all year, so I'm just going to play it.
All right, so let's talk about this then for our subs and our betting fans out there. If you like the over in this game, and now that it's kind of been bet up a little bit, would you be waiting until closer to the game? Like, Frank says he thinks it's going to be coming down, Paulie. Do you think it might be better to wait on a bet like this to see if you can get that extra point or so? Or are you more worried about it going up at this point and you just want to take the number now?
I mean, this is one you just put maybe a small bet in at the current number, but then you may just want to wait and you just play it live to where, hey, if there's no scoring in the first 5 or 6 minutes, or maybe there happens to be a long drive to start the game and an interception in the end zone, right? Mm-hmm. To where maybe the live totals now is 52.5. But in reality, the projected game flow has been looking like, well, it should be going over because they probably should have scored a touchdown there and didn't.
Right. The Tennessee Titans situation last week where they drive all the way down the field, throw the pick, and get a run back and absolutely kill all my Titans bets. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about there.
I think there was 3 picks in the end zone in that game, I believe.
Oh, my God.
And the game almost still went over.
The only good thing about it is I didn't have it on one of my main TVs, so I was just watching it on Red Zone because otherwise I probably would have been pulling my hair out with that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's the way to play it as well. So that's another thing that we can look at here with that. What bowl was this again? The Cure Bowl. Sorry. I got to double check on these bowl games because I don't even know half these. I don't even know what the Cure is. That's probably a company or something that decided to buy that out. So it is what it is there. So let's move on to the next one. We got this one is a projected shootout in the Boca Raton Bowl. We got SMU taking on FAU in this game. SMU 3.5-point favorite in this one. The over-under in this game is at 70.5. So I guess they're expecting a lot of fireworks in this one. Who did we start with last time? Frank, I think. So, Paulie, we'll start with you this time. What are you looking at this game?
Yeah, this is one where the market pretty much has it correct. I'm within half a point on both the spread and total currently here. I just think this is going to be one of the best games to watch, and it's probably a really good spot if you like to try to middle live games in college football because there's going to be some streaks here where teams go on a 14-0 or 21-0 run just because the defenses here are really not going to be able to stop anybody.
Interesting. All right. So this is another situation where we could look at some in-game stuff and depending on how the flow of the game goes, maybe catch a middle and double our money. I always like to see that happen. Frank, what are you looking at in this one?
Yeah, no play for me on this. I actually have it at 1, FAU +1, but I would need to be getting 3.5, maybe probably even 4 to get involved here. Mm-hmm. There's going to be a lot of points. I actually have it at 72.5. I'm seeing some 70.5s out there, some 69.5s. So some money did come in on the under. I would have to get 68, something like that, 68.5 to get involved. SMU, I've got it, the 27th most efficient offense, which is pretty good considering FAU or SMU, and 73rd on defense. That's pretty big spread there. And Florida Atlantic, same kind of spread, 52nd on offense, 79th on defense. So by my rankings, they're not going to stop each other. There's not much, though, for me in these games. There's so much randomness in a lot of these high-scoring games that I'd rather just not, bet them. I'd like to see a more sizable edge on a total that big if I'm going to bet it. So I'd like to see 67.5, 68, something like that. So I'm just missing on that total there.
Yeah, and that's a good point that you're making too, is that, when you're looking at some of these spreads sometimes, 1 point spread in a 70 total game is a lot different than a 1 point spread in a 35 total game or something like that. It's all relative to the way it's going. So, where one game you might think there's an edge if the line is 2 points off, in another game that has a total of 70 or 75, 2 points might not be that big of an edge that you're really willing to make the bet on it. So keep that in mind when you're betting. There's a big difference.
Certainly there's the number at close we can assume is, efficient, but the variance in these games compared to, say, Wisconsin, Michigan is going to be a lot different. The average spread in this game, if it closes at 3, is probably going to be around a field goal, but the variance in those scores is going to be so high that, I like to kind of save for a situation where if I'm going to bet a game where I have a small edge like that, I'd prefer it to be a little tighter game.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, you don't have to bet every one of these games. That's the beauty of it all. The books have to offer them, but we don't have to bet on them. So just look for the spots that, you think you have the biggest edge, and that's how you're going to end up on the positive side at the end of the day. All right, so not too much in that one. Let's go on and talk about the Camellia Bowl right here. We got FIU going up against Arkansas State. Currently, Arkansas State is a -2.5-point favorite in this game. The total is 62.5. So we'll start with you this time, Frank. Anything on this one?
Yeah, no play for me here. I do have a little bit of an edge against – I'm guessing there was some movement here. Let me check real quick. Sorry. So, yeah, I do have a little bit of an edge on Arkansas State. I had the game at 4 right on the number. Mm-hmm. It looks like it opened 4.5, and it's gone through the 3 and all the way down to 2.5. But you're probably going to pay for it a little bit. I'm seeing some -110, -113 out there. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I would have to see maybe a 2 at lower VIG or 1.5 at normal VIG to get involved on the side there. I've got the game at 61, so nothing on the total for me. Another high-scoring game. These teams stink.
Remember, you only got to be 500 to make it to a bowl, so it's not like these are the best teams in the country. They're just not the worst teams in the country.
Still, even though, I've got, FIU at 109th in the country out of, 130 teams. And Arkansas State is 95th.
Okay.
I'm not playing this game, but like I said, if the number keeps going down, I would consider Ark State, but nothing for me here.
Yeah, so these are two teams that are basically beating up on some of the worst teams in the country to get the 500 and make it to their bowl. So, really there's a lot more volatility there, and this is one of those situations where just because the team has 6 or 7 wins on the year doesn't mean they've actually beaten anybody good. So neither one of them could be that great. Paulie, what are you looking at in here?
Yeah, I'm right here with Frank. I have no play on either side of the total within a point on both of those.
All right, so this is another one where we don't have too much going on there. But luckily we have a lot of games on Saturday. So let's move on to another one here we could talk about. The Las Vegas Bowl. We got number 19th ranked Boise State taking on University of Washington. It's a 49.5 total in this one. Washington favored by 3.5. Paulie, anything on this game?
In the current line sitting out there, you said it's 3.5, I believe, right? So we're seeing pretty much, right?
Hold on, let me look here. Let me open up.
3.5. Yeah,
3.5, pretty much everywhere.
I had a small edge on Boise at +4 yesterday. I have the game as it's like +2.8, so right in between 2.5 and 3. So It's a small edge because it's above 3. This should be probably one of the best games to watch before Christmas. You got two teams that are, not necessarily high-powered offenses, but you two very solid programs that are going up against each other. Boise has just been playing out of their mind the last, 4 or 5 games, and really almost had a perfect season besides that one game where they lost late, I believe. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of statement they make here against the Washington team, who kind of was probably one of the most underperforming teams in all of college football this year.
All right, so that's another good one there that we could look at. Frank, did you give your thoughts on this game already? I was looking at the next game while you guys were talking. All right, so what do you think about this one? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I've got it bang on. I got Boise +4 and 49 on the total, so nothing for me on a play wise. But yeah, Boise starts 6-0, and then they put up a stinker to BYU, and then they start blowing everybody out again. They played one OT game there against Wyoming, I think, but. This is, like Paulie said, the better game before Christmas, leading up to the Christmas games. Opposite of last game where, these teams kind of stunk. Boise and Washington it's going to be a pretty close game. Vegas Bowl, it should be a good watch, but no place for me on this current number.
Yeah, so what I'm looking at here, and this is what I was looking at when Paulie was talking. I didn't know he was going to end so soon. I'm looking at it opened at a 4. It was a 49.5. I'm seeing a little bit of 50 thrown around somewhere in here. Even, at even money, not even, anything crazy there to get that number. But yeah, it doesn't look like either one of you guys have a big lean in this game. Two pretty good teams, and sometimes that happens that way. So let's go on to the next one. We got the New Orleans Bowl here. Appalachian State against UAB. UAB 16.5 point underdog here. So 20th ranked Appalachian State is kind of expected to roll here. Over under a 48. Is this one you guys are interested in, or another one we're kind of staying by the wayside?
Yeah, we talked about this before, these big spreads, right? Like a lot of the times these teams aren't, you're not motivated to cover and motivated to win. This is a big mismatch here. We get a ranked team against a pretty pathetic UAB team.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just one of those situations where it's ugly, but I would consider UAB at 17. I've got this game at like 13. I don't want to play the 16. The 17 is more of a key number, touchdown, field goal number. But I'm only seeing a handful of books that are offering that. So I don't want to say go ahead and play it because I don't want people to go lay the money on the 16. I'm seeing some higher VIG 16s and I'm seeing some lower VIG 17s. This number is a little bit everywhere, but I would maybe wait for, has it really come down that much? Let me check. Started 17.5 at Pinnacle down to 16. So we are seeing some money on UAB. I kind of missed the boat there. But I'm probably not going to play that unless I can get a whole 17. Even though my model still kind of likes it at 16, I tend to avoid these bigger spreads just because of the variance thing we talked about before. But if I had to play a side here, I would try to get the 17 on UAB.
Yeah, so Paulie, I'm looking at some opens of 17.5 and 44.5 on this game, and then I'm looking at anywhere between 16 and 16.5 on a lot of these books right now, and the total going up to 47, 48. So with that in mind, is there anything you're looking at here?
Yeah, this is probably my biggest edge of the bowls so far. It's not a massive edge, but it's a little bit of an edge. And it's taking App State at minus 16.5. I have a true line at minus 19. And this seems as a trend I've seen almost the entire year. I've been betting App State a lot. Okay. And we've seen is a lot of early movement on games against Appalachian State. I think I saw this 6 out of 7 weeks this year we had where Appalachian State moved at least 2 points against them after open. And we kind of saw a little movement again here where it was at 17.5, down to 16, back up to 16.5 here. With it being below 17, I definitely have it as a play. UAB is just a really overrated team based upon what I've been seeing. I'm kind of surprised that they had the record that they did this year, 9-4. Kind of a little misleading. Some of their wins were against, they had a beat-up North Texas team, was their second to last game of the year. They won. Before that, they played Louisiana Tech, who happened to have their starting QB and top wide receiver suspended. So those are kind of, some false victories where they, we got to talk about this in the conference championship games. The largest play we had for that was FAU against them, and FAU rolled and beat them by 43. So I just don't think UAB is that good a team, whereas Appalachian State is a very disciplined team, well-coached team, and I don't think they're going to mind, running up the score on their opponents in this case.
Yeah, so 17 is a kind of a key number, and we got to see which side of it we're going to be getting on. Paulie seems to like it if you can get it below 17. Frank seems to be looking to see if he can get the 17 or above to go on the other side. And when these two guys disagree, that's usually a game that I decide not to bet on. So I'll probably be sitting this one out overall. We're going to cut it short here for this one at this time, and then we'll do another video in a few minutes that'll have the games from the 23rd going on to the 26th. So for Benny, this is Frank and Paulie signing off from the opening line.